I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.
Hey, I hope that everyone's well. Apologies for the sort of delayed start, but you know, it's me. It's my usual. But I did actually lose my internet, so in amongst everything else I'm trying to do, yeah, just more drama. Also, I apologize. I don't know how I'm looking on everyone else's computers, but I'm realizing on mine I'm looking kind of washed out. So I'm still trying to. I need to actually spend some time figuring out this new camera. Yeah, so that then I feel like I've got a bit of a blue tint to me today. So we'll see. Hey Maya, you're right. Welcome. Hope you can hear me okay as well. So welcome to today's stream. It's on sustainable fashion, which if anyone knows me, then you'll know that I'm that's kind of the space that I'm in. I call myself the ethical tailor as per the channel, and I try and sort of educate people on kind of shopping better and things like that. So this stream I kind of was unsure what to do, and I saw an article about the Met Gala, so we're kind of gonna delve into sort of things all over the place, really. So I just thought this would be quite a good topic to sort of span a lot of different little topics that then we can sort of expand from afterwards in later streams. But yeah, I hope that everyone's day has been good. Today was my first full day back in my studio, which was nice, but actually I realized how tired I'm still feeling. So it's just kind of still sort of easing back in. There's a lot of sit down breaks, not much standing up apart from when I was teaching. And I had 2 kind of long classes today. So, it's kind of taken me out. So let's hope I don't start yawning too early into this stream. But yeah, everything should be good. So I'm going to bring Whitney up on stage. Hey, Whitney.
Hi, how are you? How are you feeling?
Good, thank you. Yeah. Or okay, thank you. Still a bit I don't know. I've had a bit of sort of abdominal pains like the past couple of days, so I'm kind of seeing how they go. Different things I won't kind of go into on this stream, but it's just sort of kind of trying to monitor. I've been a bit sort of fairly tired. I think because it was a fairly nice weekend, so I actually ended up doing quite a bit of sort of running around.
Now
I'm realizing that maybe it should be being more relaxed still, but we'll see. Because
I did that just the other day on Monday. I did a whole bunch of really, I don't know, a lot of stuff for me, right? And then the next day I was like, why am I so tired? And so it's like, oh, okay. It's because I tried to do it all in one day. So
exactly. I just want to answer Maya's question.
Maya,
I got a Speedle camera, Speedal. I've not heard of them before. I got it on eBay. It was like £45, I think, because I'm broke. And really, I shouldn't have bought the camera. I became even more broke after I bought the camera because I had like a bunch of bills come out that I'd forgotten about.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
but yeah, so it's fine. It's just, yeah, I need to like sort out the color a little
yeah.
bit, particularly on my face. It's like really weird. Like my hair kind of seems okay. The top seems okay. It's just, yeah, my face. So we will see. But anyway, so Whitney, if you want to introduce yourself, things that
Sure.
you've been covering recently.
Okay. My name is Whitney. I have I go by the YouTube handle or screen name of Witness in the chats, but I also have a channel at Multi-Chick, where I do kind of a variety of things now. I think about it. I've been doing, I did some hummingbird videos that are very relaxing. They're all kind of like real-time nature kind of thing. So, and they're actually becoming very popular. So I'm kind of happy about that. But I also read cases
that's
on,
exciting.
yeah, I also read cases on Scientology and current Scientology cases moving through the courts. So I read the first amended complaint for Leah Remini, her complaint against the church, and then also the current case of Jane Doe versus Gavin Potter and the Church of Scientology, which is very very jaw dropping case. It's a very difficult case for I think for anyone to read through. So that's what I do. And,
Nice.
mhm.
So from
Right now,
yeah,
I'm house sitting and I have 4 dogs. So if I go off camera or you hear something really loud, that's the reason. So
we'll know why.
yes,
Yeah, that's fine. Cool,
thanks.
fabulous. Well, yeah, Replay Crew. I've put your channel obviously in the chat, but it's also in the description, so anyone can go and check it out there.
Well, thanks.
Fabulous. That's all right. Cool. So, let me actually, because I haven't got my slides up just yet. Where are we? My computer. Oh, Maya, yeah, take care and do yeah, obviously we love you listening in the background, so that's absolutely fine. Where have you got pictures? Also, just for anyone who doesn't know, when you come in, please like the stream and subscribe to both of us if you wouldn't mind for more content, as we have spoken about. You can ask a question by leaving a capital Q or a capital question in the comments, or capital comment if you want to just do a comment that you want us to read out. You can also help fund streams and things like that, so that I can sort of do more of these, because I'm having to scale back quite a bit because I need to spend time in my studio, but obviously I like, sort of doing all these streams. So yeah, you can help kind of fund towards those. I've started a membership
Cool.
little thing as well. I don't know if I can bring it up. Yeah, so you can kind of pay monthly. Obviously, I don't have it through my YouTube yet. It's just through my Buy Me a Coffee.
Oh, the Buy Me Coffee. Yes.
I don't think it quite wants to bring it up, but anyway, it's yeah, sort of different levels, and kind of the more expensive ones, you can then get like one-to-one sort of Q&As and demos with me on anything sewing. So if that's something that
cool.
you're
Yeah.
interested in, do sign up. Hey, Chad.
Oh, hey, Chad.
Good to see you.
Hi.
And so that would be really cool. Oh, hey, Agnes. Thank you
Hi,
ever so
Agnes.
much. I always like people that get excited about the topics. So that's all cool. So sort of there should be kind of plenty of different things in there for I need to log in. Here we go. I'll let that load up a little bit. So there's just like lots of different extras depending kind of what you want from the streams. It's just sort of
nice.
basic supporter ones up to, like I say, these ones to get streams specifically, and there'll be sort of like private streams specifically on kind of sewing topics and things like that.
That's cool.
Right. Neat. So without further ado, we will get into the stream. My other phone has charged up a little bit. I brought up some really good articles, but they are on my other phone and it decided to totally die on me.
Oh no.
It's just it's just charged up enough, so that is okay. So
good.
that was the first one right there. So what I first of all wanted to speak of was kind of a little thing into the Met Gala, because I saw some really interesting posts that people had done about kind of the reusing of fashion at the Met Gala and things like that. People are always talking about Strictly Come Dancing, which I think you guys have, like Dancing with the Stars over there.
Yes.
It's always big sort of campaigns about them reusing garments and things like that. So that's kind of sort of what got me on this sort of thinking about doing this topic, really. But as a little kind of intro into sort of sustainable fashion, for those that don't know, sustainable fashion is basically when it sort of first was coined as sort of a phrase, because obviously sort of reusing, recycling and repairing garments has been a thing for many number of centuries. But it's only sort of in the past, probably sort of 20 years, that it's really sort of became this thing of sustainable fashion. So sustainable fashion is anything that is made in terms of helping the planet, giving back, highlighting the people behind the garments, and not using plastics and fossil fuels to make up a garment, basically. So within that, it then sort of and there'll be like many brands that sort of came out that were also sort of given back to projects, so like planting trees, funding for clean water, and also going in to fund garment workers so that they get a living wage and things like that. So so there's kind of all these sort of good things around sort of sustainable fashion. The whole sort of the word sustainable within this sort of context is to sustain the sort of production and things behind a garment. rather than sort of when some people say sustain, they mean sort of generating enough money. It's sort of there was a thing aside from sort of obviously making the money to sustain a business. It's
Right.
also like sustaining sort of the ecosystem around it.
Mhm.
So
Sustainable is not singly about sustaining nature or the natural products. It's about more than
yeah,
that. Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
interesting.
about the like the
Mhm.
people behind the garments and things like that as well.
Oh,
So
okay.
if I add this, so I found this in an article in Vogue,
Mhm.
and it's by was spoken by a designer called Reena Singh of Acre. A rich
Mhm.
society is not measured by how much we consume, but how meaningful by how meaningfully we consume.
Mhm.
And I just thought this kind of summed up sustainability as a whole really
Mhm.
well. In that it's there's a lot of campaigns that go around as well, sort of over the years, about consuming less,
Yes.
buy
Mhm.
less and buy better, and things like that, which is all
Mhm.
really great. But there's just something about this in terms of it's not focused singly on a person. It is
Yes.
talking about a
Mhm.
society, and we are that society.
Mhm.
So I just feel like this is a bit more relatable to people. I think it always comes across better when you talk in terms of a bigger picture of sort of many
Yes.
people, rather than just saying you need to do better. It's sort of then you're just like, oh my
Yes.
god, everything's on me, and kind of
Mhm.
yeah, like you personally sort of feel so much pressure.
Yes.
So yeah,
Mhm.
I just quite liked this
It is nice. I like
what
it.
this sort of stood for.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um so then from sustainable fashion, we then got into sort of all the high street brands, sort of fast fashion, taking
Mhm.
on these like sustainable collections, which I'll go into a bit more in a bit. So then from that, that's kind of why I call myself ethical, because I think that speaks
Yeah.
more greatly to kind of my personal values of
Mhm.
people, planet, and animals, all
Yes.
being
Mhm.
important
Mhm.
to kind of every part of life as such. It's sort of, and I'm a meat eater, so just because I support animals doesn't mean I need to be vegan, but I can
Yes.
still think
Mhm.
about the way in which those animals are treated for whatever they're used for.
Mhm.
Um, in just the same way that I think it's important to think about the people who are, sort of picking the crops and kind of doing all the handwork that we
Mhm.
still don't have sort of machinery to deal with, basically. Um, so yeah, so then within that, there's now sort of everything has kind of moved onwards to more of a circular
Mhm.
fashion, and then even within that it's a regenerative sort of fashion society, and things like that, which
Mhm.
goes more into, so whereas like sustainable fashion and ethical fashion is kind of classed as sort of thinking about all those other parts,
Mhm.
um circular fashion is taking that but then being like you have to think about your garment, sort of like even after consumption, kind
Right.
of what's going to
Mhm.
happen to it, what do you expect your clients to do with it, how can
Yes.
you
Mhm. The
educate them and
entire
sort
life cycle
of
of the
around,
garment.
yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
This is where like you get the whole like biodegradable, compostable kind of stuff coming into it.
Yes.
And then you get regenerative fashion, which is more like rather than just thinking you know, sort of, oh, you know, at the end of the garment's life, I can, you know, sort of send it off to be recycled wherever, because obviously a lot of those roots are not properly being
Yes.
what's the word? Sort of actioned and finalized in terms of sort of the recycling, as we found out in our recycling stream.
Yes.
That sort of the regenerative is like, you know, sort of that garment is then has to be you know, sort of using a way to regenerate sort of like the next collection kind of thing. So it kind of keeps it very within house of the designer and sort of brand as such. Much like how farmers have become a lot more regenerative in the way that they do things, in terms of, you know, you don't just have crops, you don't just have animals in a farm, you use the animals to help the crops, and then the crops therefore then help the animals and things like that. So it sort of keeps it very within its own ecosystem, but then you're sort of reproducing out of that. So it's kind of like within fashion, it's like, so great, you know, you're making something out of natural fibers. You're making sure that there's somewhere that it can go to sort of at the end of its life. But how is that end of its life then sort of reinvigorating sort of like the next item that you make? So it's sort of this thing of do you kind of take those old garments and then you use them, you know, like maybe like the zipper's still fine, but it's like kind of ripped. So are you taking that zip and then sort of making that useful for like the next garment, the buttons and so on and so forth, sort of the fabric in itself? Are you maybe, do you have some sort of compost system that you can put it in that will then go into then sort of like the crops for like the next collection and things like that? So it's sort of thinking
there's some sort of
beyond
beneficial
exactly. Thinking beyond just making a new collection every time and being like, oh, someone's going to produce the cloth for me. It's more sort of like, how I going to produce the cloth for myself? So it's sort of it's working with cloth farmers and things like that. Well, not cloth farmers, but like fiber farmers and the
that's a lot.
production sort of factories and things like that. And then obviously, and then within that, as we can see here, we have like the eco-friendly, green, upcycled and recycled, thrifting and swapping, and vegan and cruelty-free. So it's sort of like, rather than them all being separate things, is there also like within the regenerative is kind of, can we think about all of it being part of it, you know? So yeah, so that's a little deep dive into, thank you. Sort of into kind of the word and sort of like the background to it. And then
wow,
let me, because actually I put the slides around the other way, but I think this will work better. Right, so obviously sort of from that you have like sort of sustainable fashion. Now obviously we want to have sustainable fashion be something that is more than just kind of patchworked garments, and something a bit more kind of sexy, But then obviously you can go this total other way, and sort of people literally just put like plants on the catwalk, which is obviously really great. And within that, there's a lot of people that have sort of started growing fibers from like roots of plants, and using sort of like mushroom in terms of for a leather. There's been like apple skins and bananas, banana leaves and things like that, but a lot of those have to use like a plastic to cover it. But as far as I'm aware, the mushroom is like the most sort of natural of them all. But I think it's still not on a large scale. And then obviously, like you can see here, this kind of ad campaign on the other dress, and she's in a greenhouse surrounded by plants. So, these are just like some examples to kind of get us into the narrative that sustainable, the word sustainable can also be used within greenwashing. So greenwashing is basically when a brand advertises themselves as doing something good for the planet, good for people. I mean, to be honest, usually they just say that they're doing good for the planet because they know that they can't get away with saying that they're good for people. And so then therefore that's why it's called greenwashing, because green is for plants basically. So you can sort of like kind of see from both of these, you're like, oh, they must be doing good because they're sort of photographing and showing these things on the catwalk. But that doesn't necessarily mean it, sort of the plants could be sort of like fake plastic ones, but just made to look really real. The dress of the other lady, could be sort of recycled plastic bottles or something like that, which I personally don't class as being sustainable because it's still plastic at the end of the day, and it will release microfibers. And this is not like a call for you to chuck out all of your garments that contain polyester or anything, because I have plenty of them. But it's just kind of like thinking about kind of when you're next buying what you're going to buy and what it's made of, basically. So so you can just kind of like sort of see from the first looks of these garments kind of what they make you feel. But then obviously if you start thinking about it afterwards, there could be sort of many different things that are actually behind the garments. So then step onto the stage, H&M. And Zara with their
really
with
taking
their
it all the way
collection. Exactly. So and then you see here they use the word conscious because we're that means that we're good and we're thinking about what we're doing, which they may well be in some aspects. They are part of a recycling scheme, as we saw in the recycling episode that we did. I'll have to link that in the show notes. But you can from that stream you could tell that sort of the nefariousness of H&M kind of going behind
jumping
the other
ship
textile recycling firms, backing away, and like totally funding this other one that was all just about recycling plastic. And it's just sort of that is
disheartening.
Fine if it's textile to textile, but it's not like the best, because when it's a brand like that, they're just going to perpetuate that forever and a day, basically. So
well,
so
top,
that's kind of sort of
the top, what is it, right? I think it's top right, where it's all green and white, H&M conscious. That's like a
Yeah,
lawn. Like they killed how many lawns to make that? I don't know. So I
exactly.
don't
I was
know.
going to say,
That's
is that paint on the grass? Like sort of.
yes.
That's not
It's
helping
not
anything.
cool. No.
No, exactly. And then, like, even sort of the one with the lady with her arm on the chair, she's on the floor,
Yes.
and all those like trees with sort of like tree branches with the blossom, sort of how many
Yes.
cherry trees, which I'm wondering if
Yeah.
that's what it is, sort of cut down for that. And then, what
Yeah.
did they do with them afterwards? They discard them because, they're not going to grow
Yes.
anymore.
Right.
So yeah, so that's kind of like when it gets into it, is that you sort of see these ad campaigns and they're going so heavy on kind of the flowers, the greenery, that
Yes. Mhm.
then you don't notice that that maybe that it's H&M at all, that it's a fast fashion brand, that it's sort of like the clothing will be a recycled polyester, because
Yes.
they'll be like, oh, it's recycled, but then actually I've had people bring me to alter garments that are from those collections, and I look at the label and it just
Mhm.
says sort of like 90% polyester or something crazy.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
it doesn't state that on the label that it's recycled polyester yet, or their
Mhm.
paper labels around it will all be like, oh, it's recycled, and it's like, well, then why don't you have that on the label? So then it really always makes the question as to whether it
Yeah.
actually is or not.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
so yeah,
And it seems like
is that
they like the marketing hype around it, right? The people that they'll get eyes on their product because they're green conscious and they're in, that's what I always worry about with corporations, is how much of it is hype and how much of it is actual um, legitimate, efforts that the company is making toward, you know, those efforts. And usually it's just a lot of hype, but I don't know. I'm hoping
yeah.
that's changing, right? I'd rather see
Well,
actual
exactly, that's the
results.
thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, like, I would like to think it's changing, but I haven't seen anything particularly.
Yeah.
Apparently there was something on TV yesterday, which I'm really gutted that I didn't know about, but apparently they had a bunch of tailors on talking about
Oh,
repairing and things like that, and I was like, oh, well, it would have been good for
that would have
me,
been neat.
but oh well. Yeah, it's not a program that I particularly watch, so
Hmm.
yeah, so I didn't know about it, but yeah, so it's a really interesting one that sort of is kind of being picked up by sort of media now as well, and sort of that they are actually talking to tailors rather than kind of just like brands.
Oh,
So for
hmm,
me, that's kind of a win, because it
that
means,
is.
like as a tailor there, we are like sort of the people behind the garments as well.
Yes.
So yeah, so it's
Hmm.
really interesting.
That is
Um,
interesting.
but yeah, so sort of suffice to say, just because someone says that they have a sustainable brand, whatever, does not mean that they are um sustainable in
Hmm.
themselves. And then I'm just going to bring these back to what I had before. So you can see here all the menu clothes. These are kind of in the clothing bundles when people send them away,
Hmm.
or when the sort of companies send them
Wow.
away to be recycled, or shipped around the world to wherever they land.
Hmm.
And obviously then you have this lady walking in front of it. This is from a Vogue article, I do believe. I can't remember what one I got that one from. No, it wasn't that one. But yeah, I do believe it was from like a Vogue one, sort of like a general sort of sustainable fashion one.
Mhm. Yes.
But yeah, I just kind of like her jacket and how it's kind of sort of patched together.
Yes.
So there's actually been like a bunch of artists and sort of creators that do these collections that are really unique and modern and kind of sexy, using patchwork and creating their own new textiles within it. Because, you know, sort of what I knew kind of before I got into sort of the sustainable world of everything, before I was like sort of leaving uni and things in 2007, the kind of patchwork clothes was very hippie like,
Yes.
kind of the country outback somewhere, and you know, sort of not something that you would necessarily be seen deading
Yeah.
down the high
Yes.
street.
Mhm.
Or on a night out. Whereas I feel like now there's a lot more stuff about from different brands where it
Mhm.
is, you know, sort of it's kind of what you want to be seeing.
Mhm.
So yeah, I
Yes.
just wanted to sort of shout out that sort of stuff. There's someone on Instagram who I follow called Zero Waste. Zero Waste Daniel. And he's
Mhm.
really cool with what he creates and things like that.
That's really interesting.
So a shout out to
Wow.
him. Yeah, and
That's cool.
let me bring up that post. Fabulous. So then let's go forward to them.
Oh, wow.
And then so out of that you've got sort of the making garments from
Mhm.
kind of patched up bits of
Mhm.
clothing
Mhm.
to garments that are then actually made just from old garments. So you can kind of see here in the kind of belt that she has on is actually another shirt. And then I think it's sort of kind of trouser legs at either side. And then the sleeves of the garment are trouser legs as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I just thought
Wow.
it was like really interesting. This is a designer
Mhm.
called Recycled LX, L L LV. Can't get my letters right. And yeah, so I just thought that was like really innovative.
It's really cool. I like
And
that.
sort of a different way of kind of thinking about things.
Mhm.
And then these ones are from a designer called Tilde Art. And these are actually made from worn out bicycle tires into these really
Wow.
sort of sexy
Mhm.
and kind of modern garments, basically. So she's got quite a few, like the one on the left-hand side,
Mhm.
where it's kind of sort of woven in
Oh,
strips,
yeah.
versus then the
Mhm.
one on the left, where it's sorry, on the right. I said left before. The one on the right, where it's the bag is made from that, but then the skirt is
Yes.
actually sort of strips that are then glued together.
Ooh. Mhm.
Uh,
That's cool.
Yeah, and then the top is like a moss top. So this is like one of them ones where it's sort of the moss is, you know, sort of is there to be like, you know, that she's this sort of green brand and things, but
Right.
actually it's a decent brand for it to yeah,
That's
for it to be shown
cool.
like that. So I
Yeah.
just yeah, really like that. But yeah, this is from a book that I've got called Trashing Forward, which is just like a
Mhm.
bunch of different
Yeah.
brands and things. It's from about 10 years ago now, so not all of them may be around still.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's just sort of like was really, it's really nice to sort of go through and kind of see what people have done.
Mhm.
Oh, there we go. Right. So then, oh no, then maybe that's all that I had. Fabulous.
Those are
so we can
neat.
bring them down.
Yeah, that dress on the
Yeah,
right was really cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I realized I didn't. I did have some other ones of kind of like the Japanese repairing techniques and things, but I must have forgot to
Oh.
put them on the slide.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
So yeah, that's yeah, just sort of kind of that I was going to go into, but we can do like an actual repair stream at one point.
Oh, that would be
So
fun.
yeah, so that's kind of yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's sort of a delving into sustainable fashion and kind of what it means to be sustainable and things like that. And then yeah, like I say, sort of it was the Met Gala last night, I do believe, or the night before.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just been like loads of stuff going off, as there is with all of these kind of events, about how they're always like sort of brand new garments that people are wearing and things like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what I realised I didn't do was take screenshots of these things. So I will just sort of read them out and people can go and find them on Instagram if you want to sort of see them for yourself. But this first one was on an account called Commons Earth, COMMONS Earth. And it's of someone's comment, must be on Twitter or something, saying the irony of the Met Gala dedicated to fashion conservation and everyone showing up in brand new custom looks is not lost on me. And the fact that I was watching a video earlier and it was saying about how the theme for this year was around the book, but it's sort of now I can't think of what the book was called, but it's basically a story of these wealthy elites who are who have this house with like this really nice garden, all sort of lavishly done, and apparently like the townspeople come to them at some point and they sort of cut off all the flowers because that's like the only way to keep the people at peace. And then until they get to like the last flower and they cut that one and give that to them, and then they just like riot because then there's no flowers. Obviously I don't know the book, so I don't really kind of understand the premise, but it kind of goes to this whole thing of what someone was saying was like the elite and how like sort of it's kind of ironic that it's, you know, like the Met Gala is like the elite people, and then sort of the paupers as such are kind of really annoyed with them for that sort of dynamic. And how instead of them sort of solving the issue and maybe like sharing their garden with them, they're just kind of cutting the garden down and giving them out that way. So so then that kind of is obviously like the same with sort of the Met Gala and how they were talking about sort of how people's outfits, like whether they went with the theme or not, kind of around that book, which some of them did seem to do fairly well from what I could see. And obviously others are just doing their own thing. And but kind of, you know, it still comes back to this thing of, you know, even with that book being about what it's about, why is like there was literally one person that I saw, and of all the people it was Khloe Kardashian, but she actually was wearing a McQueen from like 98, I think she said. which
Ooh.
was like stunning.
Mm.
But yeah, like the person in this video said that they didn't quite like it, but I thought it was really stunning. I love McQueen,
Yeah.
so
An old McQueen
yeah.
is an old
Then I
McQueen.
saw, yeah,
That would be
yeah.
awesome.
Someone, the sorry, the new designer at McQueen,
Hmm.
he dressed Lana Del Rey in
Hmm.
a replica, like sort of his take, right, basically, on
Yeah.
McQueen's is it like the Angel of the Highlands or something like that? Or no,
Hmm.
Widow of the Highlands, I think it is. Which is
Hmm.
basically this gorgeous dress, but and then she has these like antlers come out with this kind of
Yes.
veil over.
Yeah.
And he kind of just, from what it looked to me, as a critic of
Yeah. Yeah.
anyone trying to do anything McQueen, because I love McQueen, but he just like had stuck some twigs onto a dress and then
Oh
above her
no.
head and then fell over it, and they called that the same dress, and I was just like, that is long as inspired or
No.
creative, like
That was like dialed
it's
in,
just
like
ridiculous.
with an old rotary phone.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
was horrible. Well, that's
So yeah, so that was interesting.
yeah. When I think of
But
the
you
Met
also
Gala, I always think
yeah,
of they're trying to outdo each other, right? They're trying to be the most outrageous or the most over the top. So it's really sad that
exactly.
nobody got the point about this, because they probably
Yeah, you go.
you could have come up with some great things, I think. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
So
that's the
you're
thing,
right
you know,
though.
sort of like it isn't
Hmm.
obviously sort of like just down to like the artists wearing the garments, you know,
Right.
it's the designers getting these briefs to design it, and it's just sort of
Yeah.
it's not hard, you know. But yeah, it was
Hmm.
on, I'm just pulling up to make sure that it was on their feed. But I believe it was Dark Prada that I saw comparing some of
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
the different outfits.
Yeah.
Um
I love that
and
site.
also yeah, and also oh yeah, because they were going on about uh oh yeah, and I wanted to talk about that as well. And also T-Spill on YouTube. So yeah, she did an
Oh,
interesting take her own of like the outfits, which, you know, like I say, some of
oh,
them I
good.
agree with, some of them less,
Yes.
but yeah, it's quite interesting. Um Also, I thought I saw another one on Diet Prada about apparently there was a massive Palestine protest that shut down the start of the Met Gala at the start. So yeah, I just thought
Oh,
that was quite an interesting
a
little like thing that I
protest.
wanted to put out there, because I just think it yeah, sort of, you know, again, sort of go to that kind of theme that they had for it
Yes.
anyway, you know, the
Yeah.
people sort of being mad at the elites, and you just think, you know, sort of all this stuff going on in the world, yeah, there's
Hmm.
still stuff like that going on.
Hmm.
Um so yeah, that was just yeah, something that I thought was quite interesting anyway.
It is. Yeah.
um so kind of within all of that, um going back to our kind of little stint about sort of circular and regenerative fashion,
Hmm.
within that you have a contest between biodegradable and compostable, and sort of people not fully understanding the meanings behind them, including those who are designing and sort of selling the products themselves.
Hmm.
Because yeah, that doesn't biodegradable gradable does not always mean that it is. No, sorry. Biodegradable does not mean it is necessarily compostable. That it is 100% natural. It means that there needs to be a chemical input to biodegrade the composition of the fabric itself, or the sort of product, whatever it might be. Yeah. So there's an article that I found on treehugger.com that sort of goes into the definition behind it all. So the term biodegradable refers to any material that can be broken down by microorganisms like bacteria and fungi, and assimilated into the natural environment. Oh, sorry. It skipped through to an ad. Or needing other components like biomass, carbon dioxide, or water as an input as well.
I see.
As part of that process. So, you know, like it's never just like sort of put it in the compost, as anything that is compostable is. There's always sort of like needs to be an extra element to it. So within that, it's it can also need a chemical input as well as carbon dioxide or water as being
Wow. So if it's compostable, it means that you can just take it in your backyard, quite literally, put it on the compost pile, nothing else. And then it'll just okay. That's cool. And then biodegradable means something has to act on it to actually start the breaking down process.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So for composter work, you tend to have your kind of greens, like sort of veg offcuts and things like that. Maybe a bit of paper in there to help with sort of the carbon. Some like dead leaves, grass and things like that, all in kind of layers, and it all sort of works within itself to break stuff down, so that then when you put in sort of like a natural fabric, it will then help to break that down, because it would have kind of created the microorganisms inside. Whereas sort of biodegrading, it needs it's more than just that. It sort of needs sort of specific inputs to help it break down.
Wow.
So in terms
That's
of
really
sort of,
interesting.
it will kind of do it more. Yeah, it will. You sort of, it kind of goes through more of a process singly with all these elements, rather than it just being in compost and sort of that. It's kind of dealing with it in itself. Right. So yeah. So for see, sorry, they don't even quite fully put it properly in here either. Actually, I should have read this properly first. So how long something takes to biodegrade depends on the chemical composition of the object and the way it's stored. So it's sort of temperature, light, water and oxygen all sort of affect the speed of degradation. And so within that, it can actually get slowed down quite a bit compared to actual compostable. So to be compostable refers to a product or material that see, they have it actually different in here. So they have that compostable means that there's human intervention.
Oh.
And that isn't true. Because the only composting needs having a human element to start off the process, like them layers, and then you tend to sort of mix it all together, and then it gets to a certain point in its sort of cycle where actually it's just kind of self-sustaining, and you just add bits to it and it will sort of regenerate that. So yeah, sorry, I should have looked at this better properly. So actually they have it the opposite way around. So it's the biodegradable stuff that needs the human intervention, because like I say, it's products that need extra elements in order to break them down. Whereas compostable is like you could literally like dig a hole in the ground and put like a cotton t-shirt in, and it will, sort of like take like 6 months to break down, but it will break down. And actually it's said that farmers tend to put sort of like a pair of like cotton pants or something, underwear for those who call pants trousers.
Yes.
Cool pants. But yeah, some cotton underwear, and they will they'll put that in the ground, and it's they actually take like sort of 6 weeks to biodegrade. So you sort of check back in that spot, and then that will tell you how fertile the soil is. So like the quicker they compost, then sort of the quicker the healthier the soil, basically.
Wow, that's a cool measure of how good the soil is. Interesting.
Oh yeah, no, that's really annoying that they said that around the wrong way. So what does it say here? So obviously it's got here that you have to sort of like check the certifications on sort of products. So it will tell you, I don't really know what all the little symbols are, but kind of it will tell you the symbols of sort of depending what type of recycling a product can go under. So when you have the kind of the three, the triangle with the little arrows in, there's usually like a number in there, and that relates to a specific type of recycling that can be done with it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen that for different plastics types, I think. 5, 3,
so that's what it tends to be for the plastics. Unfortunately they don't sort of do it through all the materials. But yeah, basically anything that is sort of like, so if like you've got a pizza box, say, and then you've obviously had the pizza and it's got the grease on, then that won't necessarily be compostable. You can still put it in there, but you kind of should try and sort of like maybe like with some like tissue, sort of get out the grease and things, because it won't necessarily do your composting any good, or the the little microorganisms that are inside. Yeah, so with biodegrading as well, that also then goes into kind of the microplastics and things like that that sort of plastics are forever shredding off in places, which is why I don't consider the sort of using plastics, even recycled in textiles, very good, because the more we wash
Yes.
those garments, those sort of microfibers get washed out into the sea, and then therefore go and sort of harm the marine life and things like that, and then end up in us even through drinking water. So yeah, so it's just kind of that whole thing to sort of think about when you're looking at garments. Ask the people sort of selling them to you, if it says biodegradable, then just sort of ask them kind of how that gets done, where you need to send it to get it processed in that way, because it's not necessarily something that you can just put in your recycle bin either. So yeah, and obviously, don't feel bad about asking, because they should be able to answer that. If they don't, or you do feel sort of scared to ask, then maybe that's not the product for you to buy, because that's obviously not the point of not the point of behind sort of like sustainable fashion. It's meant to be very accessible to all.
Transparent.
Even if sort of the price point is a lot higher, it does not mean that people can't ask the questions. May I just asked, it doesn't just dissolve if you put it out in the rain. No, exactly. That's the thing. And because, like I say, there's a bunch of kind of these apple leathers and pineapple and things like that people have used on shoes and various different things, which are great, but and they are called biodegradable. But yeah, it doesn't mean that you can just chuck it on your compost bin, because it's does have a layer of plastic coating on it. So it's they're not always the best. They seem like a really, really great idea, but not always the best for the environment. Fabulous. That was that. And then
I wonder if you can recycle remember we did the stream about latex. I wonder if you could just take a latex piece of clothing and recycle it. That would be interesting, because it is a natural product.
Yeah, exactly. So that had to go through a chemical process for it to be made into the latex from the sap.
That's true.
So it could definitely be biodegraded, I reckon. But yeah, unfortunately, it wouldn't be sort of a compost one.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, definitely sort of it would be ways of kind of recycling that in some aspect, I would have thought. But it's kind of it's all that thing of, is there someone around to do that recycling process?
Right. Yes.
Sort of like there's people sort of concentrating on cottons, and then obviously now like the plastics, sort of polyester materials and things like that, which is great. But sort of there's a lot of areas that could be explored.
Yes.
Which is why I've always said to people not to sort of like when people are like, oh, I want to be this fashion designer, and I'm like, that's great, but kind of, do we need more clothes at the end of the day?
Right.
Is there a different part of the industry that you could actually make more of a dent in? It's like, so there's all these people making clothes, and actually there's fewer and fewer people necessarily buying them.
Yes. Hmm.
which is a shame because I know of a lot of people whose brands have gone under, since
Mm.
COVID. So it's it's just one of those things.
Hmm. It
Um,
is very difficult. Yeah.
it is, yeah. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of sort of sustainable fashion in sort of a bit of a nutshell.
That's
And
great. Yeah.
kind of within that,
Hmm.
it's yeah, and sort of and within that, there's kind of like I said before, sort of the upcycling and
Hmm.
repair sort of aspects, where you're sort of maybe taking garments that are maybe sort of quite bobbly, and then
Hmm.
sort of using that as a rag to maybe like sort of clean the bathroom with or something like that.
Right. Hmm.
Or before you do that, could you get a debobbler and debobble
Right.
it so then it can still be worn?
Hmm.
Um, do you have a small person around, like a little child? Um, and could they sort of rewear something that maybe has shrunk?
Yes. Hmm.
As I'm donating some
Yeah.
bits to my niece,
Yes.
for that very reason. And or can you sort of cut it up and use something as patches for some, to patch up
Yes.
something else that maybe
Hmm.
has a hole in, particularly denim and things.
Hmm.
And then sort of
Yeah.
uh and then into the sort of kind of the real sort of cruelty free side, and kind of
Yes.
using something that has maybe sort of not being made using animals, which sort of comes into the wool aspect. So you can go and you
Hmm.
watch out wool streams and kind of find out the realness behind sort of wool, and actually how it's not that damaging to animals. It actually helps
Yes.
the
Hmm.
sheep, because if we didn't shear them, then they would be
Yes.
damaged. Bless them.
Poor things. Weighed down
And
with all that wool.
yeah, exactly. And then within that sort of I want to do a leather stream as well to show the kind of differences then. And
Yes.
obviously we have
Hmm.
our Python stream that we did last week,
Yeah.
which is an interesting sort of deep dive into the endangered animals of it
Yes.
all.
Yeah.
Um, and then and then sort of like I say, kind of the regenerative side, which is kind of more thinking about the sort of business beyond just a product, and sort of
Hmm.
thinking about the ecosystem that is around that product,
Hmm.
basically. So yeah, just
Yeah.
sort of lots of different aspects. But I don't
Yeah.
know if anyone has any questions at all.
Well, I didn't realize all of those different areas, and now I understand them a lot
Mm.
better now. Um, I just didn't understand the differences between all of them. So I kind
No,
of think,
exactly. There's a lot of sort of
yeah,
words that kind of get thrown out there, like sort of eco and green and sustainable
yeah,
and sort of ethical. So
hmm,
it's really hard to sort of kind of sort of delve through and sort of understand them as niche
hmm,
concepts, rather than sort of getting sort of washed over by them all.
right, right, yeah. That they have different, definite, definitions of what they are and what they do, right? You're freezing up a little bit, Claire. I don't know if, I think you might have frozen completely. Uh, I think she's coming back. I hope. She's not back yet. Maybe her internet went down. Maybe I should answer questions. This is my chance to, Maya says this is my chance to shine. And I'm going to blow it.
Right. I'm back. But I'm over the other side, and I don't know. I need to
flipped around.
It took my name off and everything. I was worried that the stream wouldn't be here anymore. Right,
no,
sorry about that.
I was a deer in the headlights. Everybody was telling me to do something, and I was blanking.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, see, yeah, May, it's your time to shine. Oh, right. Sorry about that. But this may be my call to give it sort of call it a night. Because I don't know if that's going to happen again. Like I say, it happened before we went live. So, but yeah,
and just occasionally you have a little stutter, so you might check it in the playback just to see what. But I don't know if it was your internet connection or not. So you're back now.
Yeah, it was. That last one was definitely it, and before that it totally went out. But yeah, I don't really know what was going on there. So yeah, I apologize. But now I feel really weird because it's my screen is the opposite to how I'm looking at it. So yeah, I'm feeling like I'm very off kilter. But yeah, sorry. What were you saying just before I went off?
I don't remember. I don't know.
That's fine. I think we were just sort of
we were wrapping up, I think.
Yeah, kind of finishing up anyway. Fabulous. Well, thank you all for coming and watching tonight. Thank you to the replay crew. And
not good at that.
sort of leave any comments in the video afterwards about sort of particular topics that we kind of went over tonight, and we'll sort of do deeper dives into another night. And that's it really. I've got sort of nothing much else to say on the topic, but like I say, there's kind of lots of different ones that can kind of come out of it. But yeah, sort of maybe the next time that you watch like a Met Gala or a sort of, you know, kind of one of the award shows or whatever sort of things on TV with these celebs, kind of think about, you know, where their garments came from. You know, have you seen it before? Has it been worn by someone else again? Because there is a lot of that goes on. It's just it's not always talked about. But equally, it's sort of, if the garment has just been made for that night, what's the purpose of it? You know, sort of was it sort of, you know, particularly needed as an extra garment? Or, you know, could they have just found something in their wardrobe and put it together? Because there is a lot of that happens, particularly around the Oscars and things. There's such a thing as called the Green Carpet Awards, which sort of they award the celebrities that do kind of turn up in things that they've that they like already own or have worn before and things like that. And even sort of designers that have maybe like sort of recycled upcycled something within that. So
that's cool.
Sort of those things are really good.
I was a little upset when Kim Kardashian wore oh, let me think. I think it was
Marilyn
Marilyn
Monroe.
Monroe's dress. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's from the scene in Some Like It Hot, I think. But yeah, I was kind
Mm.
of upset about that dress being destroyed, but I don't know,
And that's the thing, there is a level to sort of re-wearing
Mm.
something, particularly obviously if it isn't your own, of if it don't fit, then maybe don't go near it.
Right. Right.
It's like sort of,
Yeah.
and equally it's sort of that's when sort of remaking a garment can go to
Hmm.
sort of in a good way. Obviously there's
Right.
ways of even making a new garment that
Hmm.
doesn't need to be sort of brand new material, or
Right. Hmm.
material that sort of uses fossil fuels and things like that. Um,
Hmm.
for it to be made, because obviously if something is that vintage, it's sort of, it shouldn't be worn in that way. They usually have to be
Right.
kept under special conditions, so
Right.
then they will
Hmm.
get destroyed basically.
Yeah.
So so that no, I'm equally it was equally
Mm.
as unimpressed with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
Fabulous. Well, yeah. Thank you all so much for coming and joining us. I
Thank
hope
you.
you all enjoyed it. And yeah, like I say, sort of leave comments in the stream afterwards to let us know, yeah, maybe what topic you want for next week, or sort of
Hmm.
coming weeks, and we will sort that out. I think there's some more kind of legal ones that I want us to
Yes.
sort of look into as well. So that will be really exciting, because I
Hmm.
loved last week's stream. So that was really cool.
It was fun. I had a good time with that one. It wasn't
Oh, good.
it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. But
Oh, good.
I did lose track a little bit, so I'm sorry about that,
Yeah.
but
Oh, I'm going,
it's
go.
good.
I love it. I
I
love it.
liked it. It was fun.
Yeah, as you can see with Let's Go stream, I'm always sort of going off down little rabbit holes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all fine. It's all fine. But yeah, next week I've got an interview on Thursday morning UK time. It's at 11 a.m. With a lady called Zoe from Check Your Thread podcast. So
Good.
yeah, all of her details are in
Mhm.
the show notes of that stream already. So you can
Okay.
go and check her out. But yeah, so that's going to be really exciting. We're going to be talking about how to sew more sustainably, and kind of sewing and making for your body shape, and things like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of body positivity going on. So that will be really
Oh,
good.
that'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait for it. So yeah, so everyone kind of check us out then, as well as obviously our Wednesday show. So that'll be really fun to do.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yay.
And have a wonderful rest of your weeks and weekends.
Mhm.
And we will see you then.
You too.
I'm gonna
Thanks,
put
Claire.
our little bangers up as a little last thing. Whitney's.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Please like and
Yeah, like I
subscribe.
say, yeah, hers will be in the description of this and all of our other videos that we've done. So go and check that out. But yeah, we will see you all later. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.